A Mortal's Journey to Immortality episode 746. In the previous episode, Han Li found himself pursued relentlessly by the powerful Moulan Divine Sage Zhong. Knowing that ordinary escape methods were useless, he was forced to use his most dangerous technique, the Bloodshadow Evasion. Each use consumed his blood essence and life force, but it was the only way to break free from the Divine Sage's overwhelming spiritual sense. With Silvermoon's worried voice echoing in his mind, Han Li risked everything, casting the technique not once, but 3 times in succession, tearing through the sky in streaks of crimson and azure light. Even a cultivator as formidable as Divine Sage Zhong was left astonished, unable to keep up with Han Li's unpredictable movements. In the end, the proud sage could only watch as his prey vanished from his senses. Forced to give up the chase and return to the battlefield. Far away, Han Li landed in a desolate valley, severely weakened but alive. With the help of Silvermoon, he sealed himself inside a barren mountain to heal and refine his damaged vitality. Months passed in quiet recovery while the world outside prepared for an even greater war between cultivators and spell warriors. And though Han Li remained hidden, his legend continued to spread. Tales of the lone cultivator who escaped a divine sage's pursuit traveled far and wide. Whenever they heard of his name, none dared to hold him in contempt. His repute of matching a mid-nascent soul stage cultivator was already well known. And the episode 246 continues. Ever since the battle at the Yellow Dragon Mountains, the 3 Moulan sages had taken the initiative to lead the war effort. In just half a month, their forces had already advanced all the way to Soaring Heaven's city. Catching the 9 Nations Union completely unprepared, the city's defenders found themselves facing overwhelming numbers, unable to hold the line alone against the invading spell warriors. Fortunately, the Grand Elder of the 9 Nations Union, wuxia, one of the 3 great cultivators in the Heavenly South, had hurried to the city after receiving urgent word. Using the city's grand formation, he managed to hold off the advancing forces for an entire month. However, even his extraordinary skills could only delay the inevitable. The combined might of 3 divine sages, several black-robed cultivators, and 8 enormous beasts proved too great, and the grand formation was destroyed. Soaring Heaven's city fell into the hands of the Moulan spell warriors. Despite the city's capture, much of the 9 Nations Union's forces had already retreated to the neighboring states of Yu and Biliang, preserving their strength for future battles. Meanwhile, reinforcements from the Righteous and Devil Dao, as well as the Heavenly Dao Alliance, arrived to bolster the resistance. With the united might of these 4 superpowers in the Heavenly South, they were able to temporarily halt the advance of the Moulan vanguard. Yet, these skirmishes were far from decisive, and no true battle to the death had yet taken place. Once in control of Soaring Heaven's city, the Moulan quickly established it as their first stronghold in the Heavenly South. Troops began streaming in from the Moulan plains, and each tribe sent its elites to occupy the region. The exception was the greatest Moulan tribe, the Golden Sun tribe, which was busy monitoring the movements of the soaring tribes within the Moulan plains. It was clear that once the Moulan had gathered sufficient forces, a large-scale, decisive battle was imminent. The Heavenly South, however, refused to submit without resistance. In addition to the 4 major superpowers, independent sects and even wandering cultivators joined the defense. Fully aware of the importance of the upcoming conflict, clans from various regions also contributed forces, strengthening the collective defense. Using powerful techniques, the 4 superpowers quickly constructed a massive stone city overnight near the border of Biliang and Yu, turning it into a fortress capable of resisting the Moulan advance. They coordinated with smaller sects and wandering cultivators to ensure that when the Moulan pressed forward, they would face unified resistance. During this period, Han Li's reputation began to grow throughout the region. Unknown to him, Old Man Ma had survived the Yellow Dragon Mountains battle, though he had fled with only his nascent soul after facing the green-robed woman's wind movement techniques. Core formation cultivators Yingning and the Murong brothers also survived, escaping once it became clear the battle was lost. Han Li's feats, particularly killing a black-robed nascent soul cultivator almost instantly, spread rapidly, His escape from the grasp of a Moulan Divine Sage created a stir among both the spell warriors and the Heavenly South cultivators. The scholarly Moulan man, seeking to save face after failing to kill Han Li, rated him slightly above a mid-nascent soul stage cultivator, cementing Han Li's growing renown. Combined with his earlier battle with the Heavenly Wind Tribe's Sage Mu and the abilities he had displayed against the green-robed woman, his reputation among both sides soared, outshining even many well-known cultivators. Over half a year later, Han Li finally emerged from his seclusion in a valley in the state of Yu. Meanwhile, Feng Tuo, a Foundation Establishment stage spell warrior from a minor Moulan tribe, was patrolling the border of Biliang with a group of Qi condensation stage spell warriors. Indulging in thoughts of advancing his cultivation and earning rewards, he was unaware that his patrol would intersect with Han Li. Flying across a seldom visited cliff, Han Li and Silvermoon spotted Feng Tuo's party. Recognizing that these spell warriors controlled the nearby area, Han Li decided to capture them for information. Avoiding the risk of encountering a divine sage, using Silvermoon's bewitchment techniques combined with his Dreamtear technique, Han Li quickly overwhelmed the group. Feng Tuo and his companions were rendered incapacitated, their minds nearly annihilated, leaving only husks. Han Li then reduced the spell warriors to ash with a fireball and swiftly took to the skies with Silvermoon. Meanwhile, on the Biliang border in the newly constructed Skyfirst city, Han Li's senior martial brother, Lu Luo, was deep in thought. He was speaking with a few high-grade cultivators of the Heavenly South. But his mind seemed elsewhere. Having faced the spell warrior vanguard himself, he could have returned to the Drifting Cloud sect, yet he chose to stay, watching over the sect's disciples. The sect had only 2 nascent soul cultivators remaining, and he could not risk their elder leading them into battle. Lu Luo's concern, however, was not only for the sect but also for Han Li, whose whereabouts were unknown. He worried that something might have happened to him or that he might have failed in his mission. Yet, Han Li had already proven himself capable of defeating nascent soul cultivators and escaping the pursuit of a Moulan Divine Sage. Even Lu Luo found it difficult to believe such rapid progress. How could a cultivator who had only condensed a nascent soul a few years ago develop such extraordinary abilities? Could the Drifting Cloud sect truly have discovered a treasure in Han Li? Was he a once-in-10,000-year genius? These questions swirled in Lu Luo's mind. As of current, Lu Luo was sitting in the hall as he pondered about this matter, oblivious to what the others were saying. And that wraps up this episode. In this part, we saw Han Li finally emerging from his seclusion after more than half a year, returning to a Heavenly South that was still reeling from the fall of Soaring Heaven City. The episode showed how the 3 Moulan sages had quickly advanced their forces, overwhelming the city despite the efforts of the Grand Elder Wei Wuya, who had used the city's grand formation to hold them off for a month. Although the city ultimately fell, the majority of the 9 Nations Union's forces managed to retreat, giving the defenders a chance to regroup and prepare for the next wave of battles. We also saw how the combined forces of the 4 superpowers, along with independent sects and wandering cultivators, worked together to construct a massive fortress on the border between the states of Biliang and Yu. This fortress was built overnight using powerful techniques, symbolizing both the unity and determination of the Heavenly South to resist the Moulan occupation. The calm before the storm allowed all sides to prepare, and Han Li's actions during this time demonstrated his intelligence, decisiveness, and strategic thinking. Han Li's legendary feats during the battle at the Yellow Dragon Mountains were highlighted once again, showing the sheer skill and adaptability that had allowed him to defeat a black-robed nascent soul cultivator in an instant and even escape from a Moulan Divine Sage. His reputation had grown tremendously, not only among the Heavenly South cultivators but also within the Moulan armies, where even scholarly men and divine sages were forced to acknowledge his strength. This episode showed that in a world of high stakes and powerful enemies, courage, skill, and clever thinking are just as important as cultivation level. We also saw Han Li taking action to gather vital information, capturing Feng Tuo and his patrol with Silvermoon's help, and demonstrating a combination of force, wit, and magical techniques that made him nearly unstoppable. Meanwhile, The concerns of his senior martial brother, Lu Luo, reflected the awe and disbelief of those around Han Li, as even someone who knew him well could hardly grasp the magnitude of his abilities and rapid progress. Overall, this episode emphasizes the themes of preparation, survival, and the building of reputation. It shows that Han Li is not only a powerful cultivator but also a tactician and strategist, capable of adapting to dangerous situations and taking control of events around him. His journey in this episode sets the stage for the upcoming confrontations with the Moulan forces and highlights just how extraordinary his rise in power has been. If you enjoyed this episode or found it exciting, don't forget to like the video and subscribe to the channel so you can receive notifications for the latest episodes in Han Li's journey. Thank you so much for watching, and we look forward to seeing you in the next videos, where more of Han Li's adventures and incredible feats will unfold.